So things have changed since the last time I talked about CTR Nitro-Fueled, and guess what? I'm gonna talk about it again, because if my hype shot through the roof before, I think it just obliterated the moon right now. After Sony did their big Crash Team Racing Direct, with some other stuff I think, Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled is looking like a much bigger and better game than I ever thought possible. But before I get into that trailer, we have a few things to catch up on. Activision has been releasing character trailers for each of the playable characters, and I will be going over each of them. I won't be going over the PlayStation Twitter's PS1 versus PS4 character comparisons, because that would be pointless. Let me just start by saying that I love that Crash falls asleep in his cart. That is so in character for him, considering that his two favorite things are dancing and napping. Speaking of which, he crash dances in his cart. That is just awesome. What I'm wondering is, in what context does he give the thumbs up? Does he do that when he hits an opponent with a weapon? Because that'd be pretty cool. Not really a fan of the tongue thing, but I'll get used to it. As for his jump animation, while I do prefer the old one, the new one does fit his personality a bit more. I also like how they put several useless boxes under the ship in Crash Cove. Nice touch. Coco Park is amazing. I love the fact that they took what was once just a sort of meadow and really jacked up the scenery to 11. The Coco statues, the flower petals on the track, what look like cartoony versions of cherry blossom trees, the fact that the finish line is just draped over the track like a rug. There's even a princess castle in the background. Where the hell does this take place? Who lives in that castle? It looks like it sprung right out of Coco's imagination. Speaking of which, Coco is just as adorable as ever, and her idle animation where she talks on her cell phone and then fumbles with it while trying to put it away is not only cute, but also a nice callback to her Insane Trilogy idle animations. I love what they've done with the Polar Pass music. Polar Pass is one of my favorite tracks of the game, and the music for it is just awesome. I have no problem saying that the Nitro-Fueled version of this track is very much a straight-up improvement on the original track. I've already stated how much I love the Nordic and fishing vibe that this track has, and that hasn't changed. On to the bear himself. Polar is adorable! He is just the cutest thing ever! I just want to cuddle that little ball of fur. He's like an adorable puppy! And he claps when he wins! That is just the most precious thing ever! Oh, he's so happy! I love how when boosting, it looks like he can barely handle how fast his cart is going. It's just adorable! Oh my goodness! I have a lot to say here, as not only is this the first look at Ripper Roo and Roo's tubes, but it's also our first look at adventure mode. I'm gonna say that this door right here has me a bit on edge. Now, while I'm not a stickler for everything looking exactly the same, as my love for the changes to Polar Pass will attest, but any changes made have to fit, and in the original game, this was a boss garage, and its door rolled up like a garage door would. This fit with the whole feel of the racing game, since garages are where you fix cars. This big door, besides having an abundance of bolts on it, doesn't really look like it belongs in a racing setting. This looks like the door to a military bunker or somewhere where they would keep giant weapons. I don't know, it just doesn't look right to me. Ripper Roo, on the other hand, is incredible. I like how they revised his voice. It sounds more insane and manic as opposed to the goofier sounding one in the Insane Trilogy. I've heard a lot of people say that this sounds closer to the original laugh, but I don't hear it. I think they just said, do something that fits the character rather than a sound-alike. I personally think that the Insane Trilogy one sounds more like the soundbite, and that's why I don't like it. As for Roo's tubes, it looks great. It's definitely not on my favorite levels list, but it definitely looks great. One thing that does worry me is it looks like that Ripper Roo hands you the key in Roo's tubes. Does this mean that there are no victory circle animations? I wouldn't put it past Activision, but I do hope they keep those in. Also, Ripper Roo throws up the key. Ew.
You pesky earth slugs like to race, eh? Well, I Nitrous Oxide. I'm the fastest racer in the galaxy.
Dear God, they teased this early. I thought we weren't going to see Oxide until way into June. But we have him now, and he looks perfect. It's definitely better than what Nitro Kart did. What happened to you, man? Oxide just looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun to use, and finally without cheat engines. As far as his voice goes, it's a little clearer, and I think that removes some of the charm to him as an alien, but I'll get used to it. I also love the little double thumbs down he has. It's charming. A little background. As CTR is my favorite game, I have a bit of an attachment to Oxide. He's by far my favorite villain in the franchise, despite being a one-off racing alien. His design just screams, I was made for a racing game, with freaking exhaust pipes coming out of his head. Hell, I might have a new main to replace Dingo Dial. Maybe not. Our first look at PS4 exclusive content and its classic PS1 era skins for Crash, Coco, and Cortex. Now, I'll be the first to admit that I love the Insane models, and I have no problem using those. But classic Cortex is probably one that I will be constantly using. Crash and Coco look nice, but dear God, Cortex just looks awesome in his classic skin. It's the more square head, round disc-like hair, and tan skin for me. The Insane model is good, but come on, his hair is supposed to be a disc, not this weird T-shape. Now this is where we get the big news. Crash Nitro Kart content. Not only has it been confirmed that all 13 Nitro Kart tracks are getting ported over, but all karts and characters as well, and that's just awesome. I'll admit that I'm not the biggest fan of Nitro Kart. The karts feel like they have magnets attaching them to the floor. The hopping kinda stinks since you can no longer froggy hop. Jump timing for shortcuts feels weird, and I am not a fan of the alien characters, especially the bosses, who I felt had little personality beyond their two-dimensional personas. That being said, the track design in Nitro Kart wasn't half bad. There were a few parts in the tracks where the track could get a little too narrow for my liking, and other parts where they focused way too much on hazards. But overall, I liked it. So having these tracks in CTR Nitro-Fueled away from CNK's garbage physics would be the best thing ever. Though I do wonder how they're going to handle anti-grav. From the looks of deep sea driving, they aren't going to include it, but that makes stages like Electron Avenue and Android Alley kinda hard. Electron Avenue especially because of the high vertical section after the long drop. It would be interesting to see how they work around this. Other than that, the tracks they showed off looked great. I really liked the thing in deep sea driving and the fact that they added ramps to the split. As for Clockwork Wampa, it looks like they widened parts of the track, specifically the parts next to the giant gears. Other than that, it's aesthetic changes, like adding bags of Wampa fruit to the side of the track. But the biggest overhaul has to be Electron Avenue. What was once a yellow stage that shared its aesthetic with Android Alley is now a full-fledged dark purple neon-filled wonderland, with holographic trees and futuristic dark hues. It just looks fantastic, easily one of the best looking tracks so far in my opinion. And remember what I said earlier about the characters? Not gonna lie, but I really want to see Crunch making it as a playable racer. Not only because I think he's a great character, but because I want to see the Crash subreddit explode. Hunter, pistol, go! Get some! Oh, fuck! Yeah. That's gonna be a fireworks show to remember. There are also some minor details I'd like to discuss in the trailer, such as the bosses appearing, like Komodo Joe and Papu Papu. Papu especially looks nice. I've heard people complain that he looks like a Polynesian, and to those people, I have to say... He is Polynesian! Seriously, the Wampa Islands are Polynesian islands! Why wouldn't he look Polynesian? Aku Aku himself is a kahuna! Seriously! So as an addendum to this video, this game was recently made playable at PAX with Papu Pyramid, Sewer Speedway, Clockwork Wampa, and Electron Avenue. And I'll quickly go over, rapid fire, my thoughts on everything I saw. The carts are recolorable, so that's awesome. It's snowing in Clockwork Wampa. Pinstripe cuddles his gun. Neat. Electron Avenue does not have any anti-grav segments, and they shorten the jump at the beginning to compensate. Why are they not bumping into each other? Can we tone down the number of clocks and warp orbs, please? Their jump animations change on long jumps, and that's awesome. Papu's Pyramid is my favorite CTR level, and it's looking brilliant. Sewer Speedway has a lot more detail, and is that a giant gator? The kart sounds are so much better, and sound like they're exclusive to the kart. I could make so many jokes about this one guy alone. Why does everybody suck? They still haven't fixed Aku Aku's music. Dingo Dial has a tail now. Cool.